the assumption of other things being equal. Ceteris paribus is a Latin phrase that means other things being equal. This term is most commonly used in economics, though it can be used in physics and psychology. Ceteris paribus was first implemented by Alfred Marshall. He was born on 1842 and he died on 1924. He was a British economist and he was one of the chief founders of the School of English Neoclassical Economists. Through this assumption that Alfred Marshall implemented, we can examine a change in one variable, but we can hold other variables constant. This means that without this assumption, it would be difficult to determine cause and effect in the economy. Ceteris paribus, that means other things being equal, allows us to isolate the effect of a single variable. Marshall applied ceteris paribus to define the relationship between changing demand and production cost, with normal price and competitive equilibrium. The assumption of other things being equal is the primary analytical technique used in the study of economics, especially when we analyze the market. Alfred Marshall further noted that variables that are held constant under a ceteris paribus assumption, they are done so on a provisional basis only. According to Marshall, there are two ways in which the ceteris paribus clause may be used. The first way is the hypothetical isolation, while the second way is substantive isolation. Hypothetical isolation. Some factors are assumed fixed in order to analyze the influence of another factor in isolation. An example of hypothetical isolation is the income effect and substitution effect of a price change. Substantive isolation. This isolation has two aspects, temporal aspect and causal aspect. An example would be if the vegetarianism spread, then the demand for beef would decrease, while the demand for veggies would increase. A consumer is purchasing a normal good at demand D1. Assuming his income has increased ceteris paribus, his demand curve would shift to D2. The consumer moves his consumption for the good from Q1 to Q2, increasing his purchase of the good. An example for ceteris paribus would be if the price of a type of beef was $10, then suddenly it increased to 20. This means that the demand for that type of beef would decrease, while for others that are cheaper would increase. But if we see that the price of other types of beef didn't decrease but it increased, then we would still get the same type of beef even for $20, leaving this the cheapest type of beef in the market with the highest demand. The first benefit of using ceteris paribus assumptions in economics is the creation of imaginary systems of rules and conditions. The second benefit of using ceteris paribus assumptions in economics is that we can understand the problems of continuous change over time on various forces that affect demand and supply. The third benefit of using ceteris paribus assumptions in economics is that ceteris paribus is the bridge between the limits of human knowledge and the requirement of positive science.
Free created using Powtoon.